On today's episode of More Influence and Impact, we have the pleasure of speaking with Dr. Lisa Brewer, who is a remarkable individual that has defied societal norms to achieve greatness. And she's going to share some of her story with us. She is a single parent of 3 adult children. She has overcome numerous obstacles and refused to let anything stand in her way. And she has created a wildly successful business where she serves entrepreneurs of all types. And so today we're going to learn about self-sabotage from her and how to not let obstacles stand in our way and how to remember your why. And Dr. Lisa is also an AI expert, so we may get some AI tips from her as well if she wants to deliver them, because who doesn't love some AI tips right now? So I'm going to bring Dr. Lisa up. Hello, Lisa.
Hello there. How are
I
you?
am well. I am so well. You're just looking lovely today.
Thank you. You as well. You as well.
Thank you. So I gave that warm introduction, but let me tell you a little bit more about Dr. Lisa. She is a doctor of metaphysics and divinity and an Usui Reiki master. She's a transformative mentor and guide for purpose-driven entrepreneurs, and she has a Light Worker Academy that she uses to promote and help. Well, you don't promote them. You empower entrepreneurs to align their business endeavors with fulfilling their purpose. So important, especially for heart-based entrepreneurs. And since 2020, Dr. Lisa has empowered nearly 100 powerful people to launch and prosper in their holistic and transformational businesses. That's incredible.
Thank you. Thank you. It's been a wild ride and a wildly fulfilling ride. I will tell you that.
Yes, yes. And so, I know when we shared in our pre-call, we talked about like the defying the odds and all that. We like to share stories at the beginning. So just talk about like what it's been like for you and some of those odds that you've defied to get where you are. And I'm sure that you continue to defy odds as you grow.
Yes, and thank you for that. I will say that I do not rest in like this whole thing of those of us who are from, I don't even like to say marginalized, we'll just say minority
Mhm.
groups. There's a whole set of belief systems that society has both imposed on the groups and that we self-impose throughout generations. And so, I was not supposed to, as a melanated young lady who got pregnant outside of wedlock and all these things, and then, ended up having 3 children and then, failed marriage and all this. I was not supposed to be able to become a very successful sales and marketing manager and director for various types of firms, from architecture and engineering all the way to to telecommunications and so on. I was not supposed to be able to have not just the business now or businesses now, but multiple businesses. I've always had an entrepreneurial spirit. I was not supposed to be able to achieve any of that.
Mhm.
My children were not supposed to be able to achieve the greatness and stability that they have in their own lives. So there's all these things that society would say, and then even being a woman, and then not getting paid much less or less than my male counterparts. Like,
Mhm.
I would have plenty of female friends that would say, well, how are you doing that? Well, we can't just, there's different ways that we do that. I just refuse to take that lying down. So I
Mhm.
wasn't supposed to achieve any of that. And I
Mhm.
was not supposed to, at the age of, I'm 55 now, yay, but at the age of 50, between 50 and 52, decide I'm going to start a heck of a business and I'm going to walk away from corporate America
Mhm.
and not look back. And for the last
Mhm.
3 years, I've not looked back. Well, I
Mhm.
was not supposed to achieve all of those things. So I don't live my life based on any longer, based on what society tells me or what historically things have been supposed to be. I live according to what's my purpose, what is of my highest good, and what is of the highest good for humanity.
Yes. So when you say, like, when we talk about this defying the odds for our listeners and for our viewers too, for us to zoom out here. So, because I completely hear you, there's like the societal labels and then the belief systems that we buy into.
Yeah.
So was your approach like, the society says I'm going to do this and I'm going to prove them otherwise. Like, did you set out on that mission? Like, was that where your driving force? You're laughing.
I wish I could say it was that, right? I would say it was probably born more out of just a desire to not just survive, but to thrive.
Yeah.
My father is interesting because my father growing up, I have 3 younger brothers, and he told all of us, okay, you're going to have to work twice as hard to get half as much as your counterparts. And so this was the way, right?
Yeah.
So that then got me to a point, and a bunch of other things we do not have time to go into, but I was always an overachiever. It was never enough because, right, I had to work twice as hard to get half as much. So it was never going to be enough. The A was never good enough. It had to be the A plus. The A plus wasn't good enough unless it was 100%. Like, it was just like, it was nothing. It was, you always strive for more. So for me, when the first time that someone said, well, you can't get into this position because you don't have this degree, I was like, but I full well know how to do that position. And I'm not going to just say, well, no, I didn't agree with that. That didn't make any sense to me, whether I had a degree or not, right? Or a certificate or not. So then I just said, well, then I guess I'll find a company that'll let me do that without a degree. And I did. So it wasn't even so much of that I'm like, I'm just going to beat the system. I wish I could say that that's what it was. It turned out to be that, but not that that's what it was. Thriving. It was knowing that I somewhere innately deserved more. And I wanted to get that.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's, it was almost a trick question because I figured, like, some people are like, I'm going to divide the odds, right? Especially when we're younger, we don't think that way. But, and I had a feeling that would come up, that it's this innate knowing, right? Because, like, you are a spiritual woman, you work with spiritual entrepreneurs. And so, and I'm a very spiritual woman, and listening to that inner knowing and that inner voice, that inner guidance, that in the midst, like when things are totally chaotic and things are falling apart, and that voice says, go here, do this, that is that listening. And I think that is what pulls us out of being trapped in that conditioning. Do you have anything to add there?
It is that innate knowing, and it's interesting because I think that came very much from my mother and my very non-denominational Christian upbringing. So it's interesting that now I'm not, whatever everybody's belief system, totally fine. But that it was always with my mom, because we didn't grow up in a structured situation in that regard. It was like, just listen. It was, God's going to guide you, or, being spirit-led and whatnot. So I am blessed to have had, especially my mother, that full-time nurturer, that always encouraged me to listen to the intuition and listen to that gut, listen to that small, still voice. No matter what was going on around you, it was like, okay, just center yourself and listen to that small voice and follow that voice, because that's true. So it definitely was like, even though a lot of times it was fight or flight, it was, I had to be able to feed my family. So I'm not going to sit here and just make $2 an hour. Like, I'm going to do, like, how dare you try to hold me back and keep me, was kind of like this rebellion a little bit, right? Like, you're full of crap. But it was listening to that, just that, we used to call in the church an unction. So just listening to that unction and moving into it, and then trusting yourself every step of the way, right? And that it was going to be okay. Just one foot in front of the other. You're going to be all right. Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So there's that guidance, and then there's that action, one foot in front of the other, take the steps.
Yes,
to change.
Absolutely. Because if you don't take any action, you can never bring the dream into reality. Without physical action, we cannot bring our dreams into reality. They just stay up here. So you must always take that action and put that step forward.
Because we are taking it a deeper level, a deeper layer. We are literally taking, you know, our ideas from the non-form and bringing them into form. So
Yes.
words, thoughts, ideas, all of that come in through us. We are like channels in a way,
Yes.
right? And so
Yes.
part of that action is like the doing of what is, you know, moving through us to be created.
Absolutely.
And co-created.
Absolutely. And believing in yourself as that co-creator. I think, you know, one of the other things we definitely want to touch on, and I want to bring this out, is this sense of self-sabotage. Because I'm sure that people are listening and they're like, well, where the heck did the self-sabotage come in? Well, it came in that even though I knew on the one hand, I'm this great grand powerhouse, right? I can do all these things. There was still the programming in the back of my mind and my subconscious that I wasn't good enough. I wasn't deserving of love. I would never be good. I would never be able to achieve these things. You know, it's all just when things would be getting better, the other shoe, I was waiting for the other shoe to drop. And so we run these programs in our subconscious unknowingly. And then we create this reality. So just as I was about to get to like the C-suite level, maybe in a corporation, all of a sudden something would happen. There'd be a massive downsizing, a massive layoff, something would just go haywire. And all of a sudden I'm like, oh my God, you know, it just didn't happen. Or a business. I tried for 6 different times to be a success, you know, a very successful step away from corporate America entrepreneur. And until this time, I wasn't successful. Something would happen, right? Something would happen and it'd be like, psh. And one day I'm like, why I finally identified it as a cycle. And even though the names and the places and the dates might be different, the energy was the same. And here I am, this 40-some-odd-year-old woman going, oh my God, I've been doing this to myself all my life. And in that moment, I believe now about 7 years ago, is when it all changed. When I finally decided to say, oh, wait, no. This is not it, right? And recognizing and arresting those cycles before they actually happen.
Yes. And what happens too, were you doing anything at the time that was, I'm guessing, but I just, you know, the timeline to elevate your consciousness, because until we can see it, we can't really break the cycle, right? It's like when we have that aha, that epiphany, and then we can see, it's like, oh my gosh, like I had that happen to me this year. I was totally asleep to it. It was just playing out. And then I'm like, wait, I've been here like 9 other times and I don't want this anymore. So were you doing anything at the time to like shift your consciousness, or were you doing like in your spiritual studies or anything at the time that you kind of relate to that?
Yeah. My second marriage had fallen completely apart. I thought it was going to be my forever, right? Because this was now kids are grown, out of the house. Great. Like this is for me. Second marriage falls apart. I lose my really good position, really enjoyed it. Lose that position, got downsized because I stood up for somebody in my organization that was being mistreated by someone else within the organization. And I guess they had a little bit more power than me. This is all 7 years ago. I was 48 years old. And so here I am in the midst of 30 days, no husband, no job, I had no idea what the heck I was going to do. I was completely broken. And I was already starting to go to a counselor, and I went, and the first time I went there, her name is Anne. And it turned out that she was also like a Reiki master and a kind of a meditation facilitator, we'll call her. I didn't know anything about chakras. I didn't know nothing about meditation. I didn't know nothing about nothing. And I just looked at her, tears streaming. And I said, "What? There's something else you do other than this? What is it?" And she just kind of looked at me, and she's the one that taught me and started me on my spiritual awakening path in the midst of my whole life just falling apart.
Wow.
And that, like a phoenix, rising from the ashes, that is where that I was completely reborn over that summer. It
Mm.
was just the most amazing thing ever. And that's when I was finally able to feel and not just think everything.
Mm.
Because I do think, especially powerful women, but I think everybody, right? When we get to these places in corporate or business or whatever, it's such a masculine energy.
Mm-hmm.
We think about everything and we just ignore our feelings.
Mm-hmm.
When really our feelings and our emotions, that's the energy that we set into motion.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're not in touch with that, you're like a ship without a sail.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what finally kicked me into, these are all the patterns. This is all the stuff I've been repeating over and over and over again. And that's what put me on the trajectory that I am today.
Mm. Wow. Wow. It's what they say, the obstacle is the way, right?
Mhm.
Like, so if
Absolutely.
anybody that's listening or watching and you're going through something in your life right now, challenges, the world feels like it's falling apart. Like there is gold in there. Like
Yes.
things don't happen to us to make us wallow and cry and think we're a failure. I think those are those societal beliefs, right? Challenges are happening. I suck, all the
Yep.
narratives that we pick up, but it's like, whoa, challenges are happening. This is here for me to grow and advance and evolve and transform myself.
Every seed must die in order for it to become a harvest.
Mm-hmm.
So in order for you to get the harvest from everything you've been going through, you got to let it all, it's got to be destroyed so you can be reborn. And that, to me, that's the biggest message I like to bring to people is let it go, let it die off. And then can we just do something, let's do this thing amazing once we release all of that. And now it's empowering rather than debilitating.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's take a moment to receive that, listeners and viewers. Like soak that one in. That's just pure wisdom there. Thank you.
Yeah. You're welcome. You're welcome.
So going into our strategic part of the conversation, let's talk a little bit about what you're doing in your business right now and Lightworker Academy, and you have some other things going on right now, and then we can step into some of our other elements.
Sure. So out of all of that was born Lightworker Academy. I mean, there's a few other things that happened. Really, is to be able to help heart-centered or people that are more in the spiritual side of things, entrepreneurs that wanted to help people,
Mm-hmm.
wanted to really help humanity and awaken humanity and help them through their pains and traumas and things like that. Be able to create functioning, abundant, prosperous businesses in their purpose. And so for the last 3 years, that's what we've been doing in various ways, strategically giving not only the spiritual side of coaching and then, helping people just kind of flourish in their purpose and identify what it is, but also this actual business aspect, right?
Mm-hmm.
How do we create a functional business? How do we create multiple streams of income with underneath one umbrella? How do we create programs that are really going to be transformational and events and things like that, and then structure the back end from that, though? And that's grown immensely and I've thoroughly enjoyed it. And from that, now we have started another endeavor called In Source. And In Source is a complete package where we get to work together, right? One on one. There's strategic business coaching and strategic coaching period in there, as well as the team. Because you mentioned the AI thing.
Mm-hmm.
I love technology, love it. So I have a team of people that are all wonderfully creative and beautifully centered and capable of handling all that tech. And so now I get to work with entrepreneurs and say, you don't have to worry about the emails and this. We'll take care of all that. We'll take care of your landing pages. We'll do that stuff. Let's create something amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Live in your zone of genius and then let us support you. That is so exciting to me to be
Mm-hmm.
able to do that and bring that to people. Because I get to watch all of these wonderful seeds grow to like magnificent trees and great harvests, right? And help so many people. That's what we're
Yes.
doing. Yeah. It's
Yes,
exciting.
because the tech side is huge. One of my friends and colleagues that she has a group for spiritual entrepreneurs. Her name is Jen Hart, and they actually have a group called a part of her Connected Soul Network, they have a meeting that happens. I don't know if it's monthly. I think monthly. I'm not sure weekly, but it's called Tech Trauma Tuesday. And they do energy clearing around tech trauma because there are people in the group that are like, Zoom is always breaking for me. There's like people that have tech trauma. They just, so for people, especially that have tech trauma that want to have an online business or are just like not great at tech, like this is a great opportunity for them to have that done for you, assistance, so they can be in their genius. Because I think that's what a lot of people want. Like they sign up for coaching businesses and then they're like, I didn't know that I was going to have to be like the one person, one person
Yes.
band, or one. I always like to use the reference of like the really small airport where like the person that greets you and that takes you through security check and then they're cleaning the toilets and they're also going to fly you to your destination.
Right. It's like, like you're in Fargo or something. It's like, what are you doing? Yeah, I know. We start out with this fantastic why, right?
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of us still have that why, but it's buried. So when you lose your why, you lose your way. And we
Yes.
get buried in all of this stuff. Well, we like to do that stuff, but I like to do it where we're integrating, just like I integrated spirituality with business, because of course you can do that.
Yeah.
Then we're integrating this with the tech so that it's done with you or done for you, but you don't have to really worry about, oh my God, is that going to work? It's going to work. You're just fine. Don't worry about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And also keeping that essence of who you are. I think that's so important too, that some people are like, well, I need to do it myself, right? So how do you help your clients like keep in integrity with their message and who they are and who they're serving as they're delegating? Because helping people to delegate is part of what you do.
Absolutely. So this is why I say it's kind of done with you and it's done for you, but done with you as well.
Okay.
Because we can come up with whatever strategies we want, and we utilize the AI tools to make things easier, but that's just a starting point.
Mm-hmm.
Whenever you're working with anyone, whether it's myself, whether it's, other VAs, whomever you're working with to assist you in this area,
Mm-hmm.
you always have to bring you to it.
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of times, sometimes entrepreneurs can feel like, okay, well, you said you're going to do this, so here you go. No. That doesn't mean that, yes, I'm going to give you prompts and we can write some things,
Mm-hmm.
but I need you to go in there. And even if you're doing it for yourself, I need you to go in and put your energy into it.
Yes.
Because otherwise you are just spewing out what ChatGPT or Bard or Poe or whatever is giving you, and that's who's facilitating transformation. It's
Mm-hmm.
not you.
Mm-hmm.
So you got to go in there and you still have to do some of that. But that's where the real power is when it comes from our soul.
Mm-hmm. Is that why it's called In Source? Or
Yeah. Yes. So there's a under, yes. And the inside source, but in source, we emphasize the source part so that we don't forget that that's where this is all coming from. We
Yeah.
want to operate from that position.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's so powerful that you say that and you highlight that, because I think what happens too is people like, I think that there's the good student syndrome where I'm just going to say yes to whatever my coach tells me and I trust this person. And so if they do exactly what they say, I'm going to get results. And, in the coaching journey, we can lose ourselves. That's happened to me. And then I think that happens so then we can find ourselves. But I think particularly for heart-centered, spiritual, multi-passionate, where we don't necessarily fit into like the traditional business coach. Like we have a lot of gifts and they work in different ways. And, we can sometimes push them to the side. Like, I'm just going to try and be normal.
Yes.
I'm just going to try and be normal.
Yeah. Or we're told by so many different places that, and they're great. These are great people, but you have to fit into this niche. And this is the way you must sell. And this is the way you must create your programs. And this is the way. No, I never want to do that to anyone. And sometimes some of my clients just kind of look at me like, well, what do you want me to do? I'm like, what do you want? So I'm pulling it out of them like, no, come on, give me what you have. Because that's where we find the magic, right?
Yes.
It's in them, not in me.
Yes, exactly. And you have a gift though. I think that business coaches and mentors that have that gift that can hear someone and they say, okay, this, and this, and you pull it out and extract the gold. And it's like, okay, here's what you said to me. And they're like, I can't even, how did you do that? Like, that you have that ear. And so that's a gift that you have to help people, take that voice and that message inside of them and interpret it and then turn it into something that's marketable and sellable and all of that.
Yeah, it's fun. I love it. I call it a quantum space of creation. That's what I am. I'm a quantum space for creation. So let's go.
Yeah.
I'm holding space for you.
You totally are. I totally see that and feel that from you, the quantum space of creation.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thanks.
Yes. So you went into a little bit about the why and repeat what you said again, because it was in the middle of a couple other things. What did you say about your why?
That when you lose your why, you lose your way.
When you lose your why, you lose your way.
Yeah. You could say it another way. When you forget your why, you forget your way. That why always has to be your compass for true north. The why, how you facilitate the why will evolve. But the basis of that why will most likely not change.
Mm-hmm. And how do you recommend, because I find so much, and this is in my own journey too, very recent, is like there's like the egoic and then like the higher consciousness. And I feel like in our space, I see a lot of like, do your egoic why. It's like you want this, you want that, right? Sort of like your material or whatever. But I would love to hear your approach to like finding why from like that whole self approach.
Yeah. So I don't think I've perfected it, so I'll give you what I've got.
Well, you said it's evolving.
I'll just speak for me. I started this as a coach of individuals, not a coach or a mentor for coaches. So I started this out of a great pain that was still residual from childhood, from a very tumultuous, violent, childhood. Okay. So in that, throughout my lifetime, I found purpose in helping specifically empaths heal from narcissistic, toxic, abusive type relationships. That's why I started. Then I started this because I realized, and it was going gangbusters, right? It was going great. But I'm like, I can't do this by myself. And then all of a sudden, this thing rose up in me. Well, no, you're going to help other people do the same thing you did. You found the pathway. Now you're going to help other people find their path. And I've never, and though that also was a way, very selfishly, a way for me to exponentially grow my impact in the collective was by empowering others to impact the collective. So I've never forgotten that. I may have lost it a little bit here and there of, oh, you should do it like this, or, oh, you should do it like that, or, oh, like there's so much, right? You can, in the marketing and everything like that. But then on the other side of that coin is, yes, but I also, want to have a comfortable life, multiple 7-figure business. Like that's what, but we often are told or made to feel ashamed of that. So I no longer feel that I've stopped feeling ashamed about that a long time ago. However, I completely understand and balance it with this comes when I'm going after the why so completely without abandon that nothing else matters. But you also still need to work on the egoic part of you to really be able to be a receptor of that.
Yeah.
Because if you've not changed who you think you are, and you've not changed that inner dialogue, that inner identity, that
Mhm.
subconscious brain, these things will never be congruent.
Mhm.
You'll still go through that same self-sabotage cycle.
Yep, like you described earlier,
Yeah.
the pattern that was playing out in your life,
Yes.
and that it just happens. So that is, I'm so glad that I asked that. So we have some tangible things to think about as you are, listeners and viewers, as you're embarking on new elements and new aspects of your journey. And you're looking at your why, and you're looking at your path, and it's all about stepping into our greatest expression. I just heard a little video clip of Oprah, and she was talking
Mm,
about, we are here to live our greatest expression of who we are in our lifetime, and that greatest expression is always evolving. And I truly believe, like, that's life purpose, is to experience that.
absolutely. I completely agree. I couldn't agree more.
So how can people connect with you, Lisa? Where are we sending them? So they can connect with you, because I'm sure they were loving your energy.
Oh, I'm looking so forward to talking to each and everyone that wants to. So I'm on LinkedIn, under I think it's Heart of Inspiration or Lisa Brewer. Oh, it's Lisa Brewer. I forget sometimes. But I'm on LinkedIn. You can find me either by searching Heart of Inspiration or by searching Dr. Lisa Brewer. You can also find me on Instagram, on YouTube, Facebook, all Heart of Inspiration, TikTok, Heart of Inspiration as well. Or you can go to my website, heartofinspiration.net, and there's a contact us on there as well. So yeah, there's that. Everywhere, pretty
So
much Heart of
follow her on
Inspiration
all the
everywhere.
socials, and we will have all of your info in our show notes, in our links. And then, did we provide an opt-in or anything for our viewers and listeners?
Yes.
Okay, tell us about that.
Yes. So I am gifting everyone my introduction to ChatGPT, prompt engineering for the transformational leader. So
Ooh.
I know a lot of people are just like, okay, like I know hopefully all of us are at least starting to use ChatGPT. And no, I'm not a complete AI like lover, but it's here and it's not going anywhere.
Yeah.
So we go through the methodologies of crafting very specific and very powerful prompts, aka prompt engineering. And then also, how do we use it ethically? How can you take that and
Mm.
then make it your own? I want everyone to be not, concerned about it or in fear of it, but I want you to be able to utilize it so that you can have your highest expression and then go on and help more people, right? That's the whole thing. We want you to work with more people and increase your impact.
Yes, yes. Influence and impact. And that is an amazing gift, Dr. Lisa. So we will have that link for everyone. I'm going to go check that out because it sounds awesome. Thank you so much for your time and your contribution and your insight and your wisdom. I just appreciate you so much, Dr. Lisa. And thank you, everyone, for tuning in and listening today. I hope that you feel the warmth in your soul from this conversation that I feel. And we will see you next time on More Influence and Impact. Bye for now.